Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jasmine. Welcome to my Brooklyn apartment. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Hart. I'm a program coordinator at a girls nonprofit, and we are at my home in Brooklyn, New York. So I came to New York straight from college. It was straight out of senior year. I had a job offer, which was really exciting because I didn't have to stress. So I moved straight to New York. In terms of finding this apartment though, this was my first time going out and living by myself. I've been here for close to 10 years now. And so finding this place was hard. Anybody who lives in New York knows it's stressful finding an apartment. And I feel like for me, I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted an apartment that had a living room. I wanted 2 bedrooms because I was working from home post-COVID, and I knew I really wanted like a dedicated office space / creative zone for me. I've been working in my bedroom prior to that, and I just found it hard to draw the line between your resting zone and where you were working, so that was really important to me. And then I had a budget, of course. In terms of finding this, it was so hard though because every place I looked at, I saw 2 bedrooms, but there was literally 0 living room. The living room was like the kitchen extended, but you had maybe 2 feet of space. So when I found this place, I walked in, I was immediately sold and put my deposit down probably within 10 minutes of walking out of the apartment, and that is how I ended up here. Welcome to the living room. This room is such a stunning space. There are multiple different moments happening within it. Over here, we have what I call the entertainment area. This piece right here, this beautiful credenza, is probably the most expensive thing in my whole apartment, but it's so worth it. It's from Anthropology. I see this as a forever piece, something that will go from home to home with me. And what is really special about it that I adore is these swivel doors. I think you typically see a credenza where the doors open straight out, but these swivel all the way back. And here's where my purses are stored. For anybody who wonders, where can you store things in an apartment like this? We do everything in all of the different spaces. So this is my purse storage, but I love these swivel doors. And on our other side, we have glassware, sunglasses, and all the other random stuff I want to hide from outside eyes. One thing that I felt was really important in a space like this where there's no windows in the living room was mirrors. And Kendra found this beautiful mirror from Crate and Barrel, and I felt like it opened up this window in the space that didn't have a window on its own. So when light comes in from my office and bedroom, it bounces off of this and really makes the space feel way more open than it would feel without a mirror here. So I definitely recommend, if you're in a home similar to this where you don't have light in a room, natural light I should say, definitely recommend mirrors. They definitely open up the space and make it feel way more inviting and welcoming. I love little trinkets and objects, and especially quirky ones. This hand vase is one of my favorite pieces. I randomly stumbled upon it. I can't even tell you where it's from, but I just love it. I think it already adds something to any space I put it in, and it's just fun. I love a piece that makes me smile. This beautiful Nadine Entryway piece is really kind of the catalyst for the whole living room. This piece grounded so many things because it's full of color. It supports and showcases Black women in such a beautiful way, and really is a lot of the color palette that I wear in my everyday life. So bringing that color palette into this art and then into the space was such a natural extension of this piece. This beautiful lamp is so special. I love the irregular shape of it. It just adds something to the space. There's so many rounded corners in this space. The shape of this lamp felt like it was just a natural extension of everything else that's happening around the living room. This is by Kelly Wearstler, and it's just a really special piece. This corner is the one that if you have ever seen me on these internets, this is probably what you're most familiar with. I make fashion content typically on TikTok, and this is where everything is recorded. I love having beautiful branches here. Just adds to the drama of the outfit of the corner of what we have going on in the space. This piece is Maybe if I had to pick a favorite child, this is what I would pick. This is a piece that I commissioned from an artist, Trisha Abe. I stumbled across her on TikTok and her art just really spoke to me. I felt like it just captured something that my soul resonated with. And so I reached out to her, and it was a real journey of figuring out even what the color palette of this would be. She created this beautiful design, and then we kept asking for more color here, and I feel like the color that we ended up going with in this picture really is what made the rest of the space become so vibrant and so colorful. I absolutely adore this piece, and this is something that I know will basically be with me for the rest of my life. Whether it's in a closet, whether it's in a future office, this is something I look forward to handing down to somebody one day. So now we're moving into what I call the lounge portion of the room. So we had our entertainment over here, and this middle section, basically all over this rug, is what I call the lounge area. So this is where we'll gather with friends, we'll be able to hang out, we're all just in this little vibe. I love this chair. It really has that beautiful rounded element that I feel like is really prevalent in this room. And then this pillow, which was an Etsy find, just feels really special. And I think whenever this is not on this chair, I feel like something's missing. So I really love how this just adds such vibrancy to this little olive green chair. These two floating shelves are just simple little IKEA shelves, but they added so much to the space. One thing that we originally tried when Kendra and I were trying to figure out what this living room would look like was we went with a darker piece right here originally. But when you have a space like this where there's no windows, it actually really does drag down the space and may feel too heavy. So if you're in a room like this where there is no window in the space, I definitely recommend light and easy floating shelves like these. And these are very inexpensive since they're IKEA. I love coffee table books, so this is really where the collection is showcased. A lot of black coffee table books that I'm really such a fan of and that constantly inspire me. This one, the New Black Vanguard, is definitely one of my favorites, but there's so many great ones, and I think this is something that I love to encourage. If my friends come over and they're like looking at a coffee table book, flip through it, be inspired, get what you need to get from it. And so these are something that's definitely not just for show. We flip through these, we utilize these, we get inspired by these. Also up here are just little trinkets that I love. This cup is one that is from my grandmother's old tea cup collection. She has a bunch, but I have one that I brought back with me. It's just really special. I don't know how old it is, but she had a bunch of mismatched ones, and this one I just adored. So one of the little trinkets that's out here. I love a fun candle. These little anthropology candles I think are just great to add a little spice to a space. So this one is one of those. This is their most recent spring collection. Then we have a lovely little onyx bowl. I think adding these little pieces like this one and the one that is on my coffee table, it's just a great way to add texture into the space, which naturally adds depth into the room. So just adding in beautiful little trinkets like this are definitely something that will add something to any space you have. For my coffee table, we went with this lovely one from Article. Again, really focusing on these round cylindrical shapes. I love it. It was just an easy piece that I felt like didn't distract from what else was going on in the room, but still gave me the space I needed for my coffee table books, my lovely H&M vase that I love, and to be able to showcase florals and different arrangements. So this is a room that I really wanted to be joyful, colorful, cheerful. So I felt like this rug really did that for me. This brand is Pieces. They handcraft these rugs in, I believe, India, but it's such a special piece. I felt like it wasn't too crazy, but still added color in the mix with the pink, neutral, and yellow elements. And it really is beautiful and really creates this own moment that's happening right in the middle of the space. This is my lovely little sofa. This is by CB2. This was just an easy piece to add here because the space is really limited and we didn't want a couch that really overpowered the room. So this one being neutral, again, that rounded element to it, texture with the boucle fabric, it just felt like a perfect fit. And even though it's small, it can still fit 3 people on it. So it's still great for entertaining purposes too. Another thing that we did in this room is add in this lighting fixture. Really all this room came with was recessed lighting, but it felt like it just wasn't the vibe, honestly, that we wanted the room to have. And we wanted something else that is an added element that would hang. So this lighting fixture was installed straight into the ceiling. This is something that you can do too as a renter with the permission of your landlord, of course. I did reach out to him prior to us just drilling a hole in the ceiling, but I think it adds so much to the space. Also, it allows me to not have to turn on the bright lights. I can also just turn on these with the click of a little remote and have that more mood lighting that I would love in the evenings to not be overpowered by that overhead lighting. Also, one thing we did in this space, when I first moved in, the space was really dreary, I would say. I loved everything about the apartment, but it did feel really dark. This room specifically, and actually the whole apartment, was painted a kind of dark gray, and then there was a black trim across the whole apartment for all of the baseboards. That really brought down this room because there's no windows in here. So painting this room white immediately opened it up, made it feel brighter, made it feel more fresh, and allowed us to have a really clean palette to work with as we designed this room. And then it's something we took into the rest of the apartment too, just so we didn't have to play around with that gray. We started with this really clean, stark white, and then we were able to build from there. We have another beautiful moment in this corner. We started off with this lovely little end table from CB2, just really beautiful marble at the bottom, really grounding the space, with some lovely coffee table books, and I always have a candle around along with a little floral arrangement. We have two incredible art pieces up here. This first piece is by Tosin Badamosi. This beautiful photograph really showcases the softness and beauty of Black women. It feels like she's just regal, elegant, soft, beautiful, and it felt like a really grounding piece to have in the living room. This second piece is by Otis Kwame Chikweku. It's such a great piece that really just showcases Black men in color, in fun spaces. It's very vibrant, and it just felt like, again, fits that joyful, colorful, beautiful theme that we're going for in this space, again, by two amazing Black artists. I think growing up, I'm originally from Michigan, and so I'm used to a home. I'm used to way more space. And so moving to New York, I always knew I would have to sacrifice that. But in my previous two apartments that I've had in New York, the living room felt like such a paramount space, especially in my last apartment I lived in with one of my close friends. Our living room was such a just hub. Like, our friends came, we hung out there. It's where we were pre-parties, we hosted potlucks. So for me, as I moved into this space, I knew I wanted the ability to still host and have friends over. So I knew I needed that dedicated space, because otherwise, are we gonna hang out in my bedroom? Like, I don't know where else we would be. So the living room was really important for me because I felt like that was a space where I could bring my community in. So the last moment that's happening in the living room is this beautiful dining nook area. Kendra came up with this great concept of a banquette, just so in such a small space I could still host friends, there was enough seating for everyone, and it would still be able to have dual purpose. So this beautiful banquette not only serves the purpose of seating, but there's also a ton of storage at the bottom, which I'll show you in a minute. First, I want to talk about this table and these lovely chairs. These chairs are amazing because these were a Facebook Marketplace find, and then Kendra and I went to Mood Fabric and found this lovely little textile and had these reupholstered. So it's a great way to, if you find a chair you like, but you still want to infuse some fun into it, you can always reupholster that fabric, getting whatever is custom to what you want your space to be like and feel like. Our table is a simple little Wayfair find, but to spice it up a little bit, I love a little placemat. These Deucin and Deucin placemats just add a little bit of fun and quirkiness into this table and into the corner space. Now moving into our lovely banquette, this piece is so fun. I actually think without the grounding of this pink, I would want way more color in this room, but because this is so pink and vibrant and girly, it just does everything I needed to. This was more of a DIY project. We found somebody who could make this, but I think this is such a great piece that you could make at home. There are so many tutorials online of how to make a little headboard, whether it's with like pool noodles or just stuffing. That's really what this back base piece is. Then we have a lovely cushion here that is used for seating. But at the bottom here, this is actually all storage. So this is based on the IKEA Besta storage system, and that is what acts as the base of this item. And this is where all of my boots are stored. So as a fashion girl, I have a lot of shoes. I have a lot of tall and long boots. So this space is so perfect for that. All three of these are filled with my shoes. So dual purpose, even in the living room, we're still finding a little storage for the rest of our lives. These are a real DIY piece that Kendra created using just cardstock. So you could go to your local art supply store and look at the beautiful paper they have. And she really just created these beautiful layered pieces using different colors of cardstock. And I think they look really amazing and really expensive, and just add again that vibrancy, that color, that fun into the space. A little bit of quirkiness, but on a great budget. And then the last two pieces in this room are by Uzo Joku. I am obsessed with her artwork. It's just so stunning to me. Really focuses on the Black experience, on community, on really what it looks like to come together as a unit. This piece to me is really also symbolic of New York. When you look at an apartment building, you don't know what's happening in everybody's space, but in this piece, it feels like you're seeing it. You're seeing the couple loving each other at the top. This person, he's listening to music, he's in his own world, but it's just all of a community coming together. And then this little piece, I loved it because it kind of just felt like me. The single woman in her colorful little journey, entering into her colorful, beautiful space. It just felt like it spoke to me, and I felt like it would be perfect to round out this little corner. So I have actually been on a journey of rediscovering what I'm doing for a living. When I moved to New York, I actually worked in fashion for the first 8 years. So I worked as a buyer. It was my dream job, my dream career. It's actually what my dad did as well. So it was something that I had always longed for, and it came to fruition, and I loved it. But there was a point in time after that 8 years had passed, and somebody was like, what do you want to do 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself going in this field? And I couldn't answer the question. I didn't see myself there, and I came to the realization of like, this is actually not where you're going to be long term. You've learned a lot, you've done a lot, and you really enjoyed it, but this isn't what you're going to do forever. So I actually went on a year of soul searching. I thought it was going to be maybe like 2 months. I quit a job, I'll take a break, I'll figure it out, and then I'll find a new job in a new industry or career path. It ended up being a year. But during that year, I feel like I really found myself. I figured out what I wanted to do, and it was completely different. So I went from working in the fashion industry to working with high school girls now. So complete 360. So now I am at, like I said, a girls nonprofit where I am working as a program coordinator. As a part of my job, I am training girls in things like leadership, how to be confident in yourself, how to stand tall in front of a room. All of these girls lead clubs at their school where they teach these things to their peers. And it's really been beautiful. I've only been there for maybe a month and a half now, but it's been beautiful because every time I come home, I feel like I did something with the day. I feel like I made an impact on someone. I feel like I made a difference in somebody's life. And it's been really sweet to connect with them and feel like the work I'm doing and what I'm like pouring my soul into is actually making the difference in the lives of this next amazing generation that's coming up after us. So right outside my bedroom, I had this little moment when I had no furniture, had nothing going on in the apartment, bought probably 3 pieces. This is one of the 3 pieces I bought. I saw this bust by Anissa Kermiche, and I just thought it was beautiful. It felt really symbolic of womanhood, of color, of what it just looked like to be a woman in today's society and what I wanted my home to represent as a woman. So I really wanted this to be something that was just a grounding piece in the space. Layered it up with some coffee table books, again, just adding that element of color and fun. Then we have this lovely mirror on top. Again, I think mirrors are so important when you have a space like this. When you have small apartments like many of us do in New York, I think mirrors just really open it up more. They reflect light, they feel more open. They do feel like mini windows throughout the space. This mirror is by Crate & Barrel, and it's a great find. So this isn't the prettiest thing in my apartment, but it's really meaningful. I am a Christian. I follow God, and I love Jesus. And so this wall is a wall of verses that really ground me, verses that I need to be reminded of. And I really felt like it was important to put it on my door so that as I was walking out of the space, I was grounded in the truth of Scripture and the truth of what God says about me, about my safety in this crazy city of New York, and in what I can do in this life. One verse that I think has really grounded me in the season of life that I'm in right now is Philippians 1:6, being confident in this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Makes me just feel like God started a great work in me, and because of that, it's gonna happen. It's gonna come to pass in his way, in his timing, in his will, even in my singleness. All those things are gonna come to pass because he started that good work within me. When I found this space, I loved it, but I immediately knew configuring the living room was gonna be hard for me. I am so accustomed to having a couch against a wall that when I saw this space, I was like, okay, could it go on this wall? No, it'll face the kitchen. Can it go on that wall? No, then you have to like look straight across the whole living room to see the TV. So I knew that was gonna be a big challenge for me, and I knew what I wanted my apartment to feel like, I wanted the vibe to be, but I just like genuinely could not figure out how to configure the space. So I immediately knew I had to reach out to my friend Kendra, who is an interior designer from Cusick and Warner Design, to really bring this space to life. I knew she would be able to figure out how to configure it in a way my brain just genuinely could not. So for me, having an office was really important because at that time I was working from home, maybe I want to say 90% of the time. And then during COVID, I taught myself how to sew. So I was using YouTube University, got a sewing machine and taught myself how to sew. And it was a hobby I really became passionate about. And so I knew I just didn't know how everything could fit into a one bedroom without looking super chaotic. So for me, I was like, okay, an office would be great because then I could do my work here, but I could also pursue this like thing that I'm really enjoying doing and actually have the space to do it. If anybody sews, you know it takes up so much space with your machines, with all of your fabric, with just the mannequin. It's a lot. So for me, I was like, I want a room that can house all this stuff. It doesn't have to be a massive room, but I just knew having that second space would be really important for me. So I knew my bedroom, I really wanted it to feel like an oasis. It was gonna be like this peaceful zone where I could just kind of zen out when I walked into it. So for me, I knew where the other part of the homes, I wanted it to be cheerful, joyful, colorful. I wanted the bedroom to just be kind of like a vibe. It was gonna be really beautiful, a space where just, it like made me feel like I was going into this very restorative, restful space. So Kendra really worked around that vision, and she got this beautiful wallpaper that I think just set the tone for the whole room. And immediately, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, you're home, you're going to sleep, you're resting in this beautiful, peaceful zone. I think what I like most about my apartment is the fact that I feel really joyful every time I come in. I think for me, I really wanted a space that when I walked in, I just felt joyful, creative, happy, and I think how the design turned out really captured all of that. I was recently sick with the flu, and I think it really allowed me to see how much I am obsessed with my apartment. It really reminded me that this is like the dream space that I always wanted, and it's really come to life. So as I look around, I don't have a favorite piece or a favorite space. It's just the feeling that it gives me is my favorite part about it. Now, welcome to my office, my creative zone, my workout studio. All of the above happens in this zone. So first off, we have my actual work desk. This is where she does her 9 to 5. Technically, my job is 10 to 6, but this is where that work happens. I actually only work from home 2 days out of the week, so I'm not in here that often, but I love this little desk. It was a West Elm find, and it has gone with me for a few apartments now, and it's just been a great little hub for me to get my work done. Above that, I have these lovely shelves from IKEA and really just have my book collection up here. I love to swap books with people, so I never have too many books in my apartment at once, but just enough to fit on these little lovely shelves up here. And I did add in this lovely vintage piece that I found at a thrift store, literally for $2, but it's this super cute basket that's made with all of these old soda bottle tops. I love it. On the top shelf too, we have other artwork. One thing that I do that I think may be a little controversial is if I have small art pieces that I need and they're really tiny, if I can't afford to buy art at that time, I will take art from my coffee table books. So I take my lovely coffee table books, I cut out the artwork, and I frame it. And it is still showcasing the artist's beautiful work, but coming from a coffee table book in the meantime. So that is where I found these two beautiful images in one of my black coffee table books. As we move forward in the room, we move into my gallery wall, my inspiration wall. This is really where I put everything that is just inspiring me at the moment, things that are making me happy. It includes cards that maybe my mom has sent me, things of that nature. They go up on this board right here, and then covered it with a gallery wall of just artwork that I love. There are artists that I love to support, like Christina Martinez, who made two of the prints that are in this space. There's also art by Uzo Joku all around my apartment, but it starts definitely in my gallery wall. And then I have just my sewing storage, but on top of that, we just have a few little pieces, a disco ball, because who doesn't love a little disco party? This beautiful blue vase I found at a just Brooklyn boutique, Casa Ziki. Thought it was so special and had to jump on this one. And I filled it with just these little faux poppies. It's a great way to have color constantly in the space without feeling like you have to constantly buy new flowers. Our little coffee table books, and this leads into my sewing storage. So, as a hobby, sewing takes up a ton of space. You have to have fabric, and this is where I house it all. It is a mixture of fabric that I've thrifted, fabric that people have given me, or things that people have given me to flip into new items. So that all lives in this beautiful storage, and I'm happy to have it and happy to have the space to store it. This side is my sewing side, my creative zone. What I love about this being over here as well is when I'm on the other side of the room on my work calls, what you see in the background is my little hobby. So it's a woman who does both. On this wall, these lovely pegboards. What I love about these is these were just regular IKEA pegboards, but I decided to paint them pink just to add another pop in this room. Like I said, this is my creative zone where I'm sewing, coming up with designs, and so I really wanted it to be colorful, joyful, all of those things in this area. My lovely little sewing desk houses so many things that we definitely cannot open these drawers because it's a little scary, but it's a great storage for me. And I'm obsessed with this chair. So there are a few pieces that I bought when there was nothing in this apartment. I had zero furniture when I moved here from living with a roommate, but one thing that I bought immediately was this vintage chair. I had no clue where it would go, what purpose it would serve, but I follow some vintage boutiques in Brooklyn on Instagram. They posted this one to their story, and I immediately replied and bought it on the spot, and they Ubered it to me. How amazing. But I love it. It has such great shape, and I just think it fits perfectly in the space and definitely fits the vibe of this little creative zone I've created over here. My most recent art piece that I've bought is this lovely print. It is so gorgeous. It's by an artist I found on TikTok. Her name is Lauren of So It's Rin. I just think, again, it goes back to that fun, joyful. I love that it feels like this black woman with her colorful fro blowing in the wind. I often can be found with an afro, even though we're sporting the braids right now. So it just feels very representative of me and what I want my home to represent. One thing I added into this space was this little wall-mounted sewing rack. I used to have a small rack, clothing rack, and I felt like it really just didn't make sense. And I thought that this wall-mounted rack, I just got it from Wayfair, but it was just a great way to place my pieces that I'm working on sewing on. This is my most recent sewing piece. It's just this kind of little shacket denim with a little red pop on the side. This is thrifted fabric. So this was one of the pieces that I just finished about a week ago. So like I said, this room is my workout zone as well. In the mornings, I come in here, we do a little mat Pilates, maybe we do a little walking treadmill. The walking treadmill is right down here, stored under my sewing desk until we're ready to take it out. We also have a lovely weight rack in our corner of our room. This is for all of my little arm circuits that we're getting done. And on my other side, we have a lovely little yoga mat. So for this pegboard, I had to add all of these little different storage and clip elements. These are also all available from IKEA, but I really had to choose what I felt fit best for the space. I knew I really wanted to add some images up here. All of these were just ones that really inspired me, whether it was the color story, the accessories that they're wearing. I love the color story in this image. That scarf has such intricate color and details, and I made a design kind of based on that before. So these things are all things that just inspired my mind when I saw them, and I was like, this is actually really great for me to see as I'm coming up with new ideas. And then all of these little pieces are different things that I just knew I would need during my sewing process. My thread for my overlocker. This is elastic for those little sleeve cuffs, those waistbands. Headphones for when I want to zone out and tune out the world and just sew. And then different little scissors and chalk for when you're trying to sketch out your pattern. So I've always wanted to sew my whole life, if I'm being honest with you. I actually started drawing pictures of items that I wanted to buy when I was probably 7. I had a sketchbook and it was all these really funny coordinating sets. It would be like a long sleeve shirt with a star in the middle with some star jeans or something like that. But it was always something that I thought was something that I could see myself doing. If you look at my 6th grade yearbook, it says in it, everybody had to write what you wanted to be when you grew up. I wrote I wanted to be a fashion designer. And so I decided though, as I got older, I wanted to take a more practical route. And so that is why I went to business school and then went onto the business side of fashion. But there was still always this little bit of creative spark within me that I knew I wanted to learn how to sew. I wanted to figure out how to do that without having to go to school. So honestly, when COVID hit, it just felt like the perfect time to invest in myself and use that time to teach myself a new hobby that I've always really wanted to do. So the last thing we did in this space was add in this beautiful light fixture from Hay. In this space, the whole apartment had these very dungeon-like light fixtures, very medieval, could be in the basement cellar of some weird medieval prison. That is what the lighting fixtures gave. But this room, we wanted it to be really light and airy and really bring that color in. So this little rice paper fixture felt like the perfect one to just round it off without being too distracting or being this focal point. It just kind of flows seamlessly with what else is happening in the room. So I always recommend, if you think your lighting fixture is off, that's such an easy thing to change and really get a whole new vibe in your space. I am probably one of Uzo Joku's biggest fans. I have her prints all throughout my apartment. These 2 beautiful ones are from her. One thing I love about her artwork is that it just makes you feel so proud to be Black, honestly. This Black woman smiling, really colorful, vibrant, red lipstick on. And this one really feels like just a sense of community. It really feels like Brooklyn to me, which you could see on any Brooklyn street. I love her prints. What I love most about New York is you're just surrounded by energy and creativity. You can walk out your door, walk through any neighborhood, and just be inspired. I love that. I also love that it's a city that encourages you to do stuff by yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody else to try out a new restaurant, try out a new hobby, something like that. I just feel like when I first came here, I was 16, and I felt like I arrived at home. I felt like it was just so full of life. I come from like a suburban area in Detroit, and it just was so different. And so being here, I just feel like I can fully express myself too. I can wear my craziest outfit, my most extravagant outfit, and not feel like I'm gonna stand out in the streets. Somebody on the subway will be wearing something equally as extravagant as me. So I feel like I love it because I feel like you're free to be whoever you wanna be on any given day without fear of judgment or somebody else wondering, why do you look like that? Truthfully, what I love about Flatbush is it's full of culture. I feel like I walk down the street, especially in the summer, there's Caribbean music everywhere. It's coming from the backyard next door to me. It's coming from the neighbors across the street. It just feels like it's very community driven and very culturally driven. I think especially working in the city where everything can feel like everybody's on a mission, everybody has a goal, everybody has a purpose, but it doesn't feel super, culturally sound in that sense. Coming back home here feels like you're coming home. I really like it because I feel like I personally needed a separation between where you work versus where you live. And so this actually reminds me more so of coming home to Detroit. I used to go to private school in a suburban area, transparently pretty white. And then I would come back home to very Black Detroit. And I feel like when I come back home to Flatbush, I'm coming back home to very Black Caribbean Flatbush after a day in the city. Welcome to my bedroom, my little oasis in my apartment. I love this wallpaper by Milton and King. When Kendra found this and showed it to me, I gushed. I died. I fell in love immediately. Once it was installed on the wall, once again, I died and was resurrected in my living room because of how perfect I thought it was. This makes me feel like I am in a hotel. I'm in luxury in my little Flatbush home. I paired it back with this beautiful West Elm bed. This is actually the first piece I bought, so before even starting to work with Kendra, before even deciding exactly what I was doing, I ordered this bed because it was like 5 months back ordered. So it worked perfect in the space. I love the pink velvet and how it plays with the wallpaper. My bed is one of my favorite parts of this room too. Kendra taught me a lot in this apartment, let me just say that. One of the big things she taught me too is how to make a bed look fluffy and beautiful. The big secret is 2 duvet inserts. That is one thing I personally would have never thought of, and I think none of my friends had heard of. So it's really a great idea to make your bed look fluffy and luxurious, kind of like what a hotel looks like, or when you're looking at your favorite influencer's room and you don't understand how her bed looks so fluffy, she probably has 2 duvets in. In terms of lighting, in this apartment, every single room had the weirdest dungeon-like lighting fixture. It was black. It looked like we were in medieval times, and that obviously does not fit the vibe of the room. This beautiful lighting fixture, I love the scallop edge. This is actually just a Target find. We bought this probably 2 years ago now, and it's just stunning. I never thought I would have found a piece like this for such a good price, but it's perfect in the space. One question my friends ask me whenever they come to my apartment though is, where are all your clothing? I am a fashion girly, so the girls know I have, I don't want to call it an endless amount of clothes, but a lot of clothing, and you don't see it. I don't believe in clutter. It gives me a little bit of anxiety. So one thing that I loved about this bed and the reason why I ordered it is it's a storage bed. So there are really deep drawers down here that are just so incredible. So this is where I house a ton of my clothing, and it really is such a great solution, on top of course, storing stuff under the bed as well. So for anybody who sews out there, or even if you're interested in learning how to sew, a quick and easy project is making a pillow. And to save a few coins in this space, Kendra suggested that I make this pillow myself. So we went to Mood Fabric, found this beautiful pink that just felt like it was perfect with the vibe of this room, and I sewed it, and it's a great addition to the bed. So that's always something to think about. If you need to pinch a few pennies, you can make your pillow yourself. On this wall, I have a bunch of my family photos. I love my family. I come from a very small family though, so it's really me, my mom, my dad, and then my grandmas that I love dearly. And that is really what we built on this wall. Really just being able to see all of my loved ones in one space has been beautiful for me. Waking up, looking across and seeing them is so special. I have both of my grandmas who I love dearly. They both passed in 2020. And then it's been really special to have pictures like this one with my mom and dad in it, because my dad actually passed unexpectedly last summer. So being able to wake up and see my loved ones who are no longer here with me is really special to me. I love this picture specifically. This is when I graduated from Howard University, and my mom, dad, and grandma all came down to be with me. Looking at this one, this was our little unit all together, and so this picture is so special because I believe this is actually the only picture I have with all 3 of us together. This beautiful vase is actually a vintage thrifted find. What's really amazing about this though is we loved the shape when we saw it, but it was actually a bright blue with pink handles. So one thing you can always do in your home, and we did here, was just paint over it. Make it be what you need it to be for the vibe of your space and your room. And in this instance, that meant painting it white. This beautiful dresser is an Anthropologie find. I personally love Anthropologie Home, and I really wanted a dresser that fit just really the vibe of this room, didn't overpower it, was the perfect color wood, and this beauty was perfect for that. And then in terms of our curtains, I love really having just beautiful drapery. One thing that Kendra did for me that was really important was be able to create privacy here. There are buildings immediately behind me, and we didn't want peeping Toms looking in. So what Kendra did for me was create this double curtain rod. In the back, there's a blackout curtain that I'm able to use also so the sun doesn't have to wake me up in the morning. And then we still have this beautiful sheer curtain topped off with velvet. So there's technically 3 different layers of drapery happening here, and it's a really special way to be able to have the light coming in, but then also block out those people when you want to. I have this beautiful lamp from West Elm. One thing that we did in every room was have this option of different lighting. So if I didn't want the overhead lighting, there's always these mood little lamps throughout the apartment. This one is beautiful and just creates that kind of serene light that happens in the evening, so you don't have to be overpowered by an overhead lamp. So normally in a space like this and in a bedroom, I know people would normally use nightstands, but that would be really heavy in such a small room like this. So what we did instead was go with these two little end tables. They're really great because they're light and airy, but I still have the ability to place little objects that I love on them, like this photo of my dad, little coffee table, books, and still have a little bit of storage without having something that overpowered the room. To me, home means your safe space. The space where you can fully express all of yourself. You're free to be all the versions of yourself that you want to be, that you desire to try out, that you desire to step into. For me, it's just where you have your peace, where you can feel joyful, where you can feel creative. I just think of home as where you can express all the sides, all the versions, all the iterations of yourself. You can find that and you can express it there.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.